The sky above New York City turned strange on a normal Tuesday morning in 2157. Clouds parted as something massive blocked the sun. People stopped walking. Cars stopped moving. Everyone looked up and saw it. A ship bigger than anything humans had ever built, floating silently above the tallest buildings. Similar ships appeared over every major city on Earth at the same time. TV channels, radio stations, and the internet all showed the same message. Greetings, Earth. The Galactic Council welcomes you. At the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, Dr. Alan West dropped his coffee mug. It shattered on the floor, but he didn't notice. For 6 months, his team had been tracking unusual signals from space. Now, the answer stood right in front of them, on their screens. Call the president, Alan said to his assistant. His voice was quiet but firm. Tell her they're here. Within hours, the world's leaders gathered in an emergency meeting. Panic spread across the globe as more alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. News reporters tried to stay calm while describing the massive vessels now hovering over every continent. President Diane Carter addressed the world from the White House. We must remain calm and united. We don't know their intentions yet, but we will face this moment together as one human family. 3 days later, the aliens requested a meeting. They chose the United Nations building in New York as the location. Greg Hayes, a diplomat known for his work solving conflicts between nations, was selected to represent Earth. Greg spent the night before the meeting, studying the limited information they had about the visitors. His hand shook slightly as he reviewed his notes one last time. The fate of humanity might depend on what he said tomorrow. The meeting room fell silent when the aliens entered. They looked almost human, if humans had blue-tinted skin, eyes, twice the normal size, and moved with the grace of water flowing. The leader introduced himself as High Chancellor Zix of the Draconis Empire, head of the Galactic Council delegation. We welcome Earth to the galactic community, Zix said, his voice translated through a small device on his collar. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Greg stepped forward and bowed slightly. Earth is honored to meet our cosmic neighbors. We hope for friendship and peaceful exchange of knowledge. Zix's smile faded. Friendship? Knowledge exchange? You misunderstand your position. Earth has been categorized as a Class 3 resource world. I don't understand, Greg said, feeling the first hint of real fear. It means, Zix explained slowly, as if talking to a child, that your planet has valuable resources the Council requires. Your species will be permitted to continue existing while we extract what we need. The other Council representatives nodded in agreement. Greg noticed they represented 7 different alien species, each more strange than the last. But we haven't agreed to any resource extraction, Greg protested. We need to discuss terms that benefit both sides. The aliens laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Discuss? With beings barely above animal intelligence? Your species hasn't even mastered simple gravity manipulation. You still use primitive rocket propulsion. Greg tried to maintain his dignity. We may not have your technology, but humans have art, music, philosophy. Many species develop basic cultural expressions before reaching true sentience, interrupted a thin, tall alien with 4 arms. It means nothing. For 2 hours, Greggy attempted to negotiate. Each time, the aliens dismissed him with growing impatience. They showed him scans of Earth's interior, pointing out exactly which resources they planned to take. Rare metals, certain plants from the rainforests, and something in the deep oceans they called biological catalysts. When Greg returned to the emergency command center, his face was pale. President Carter and the Joint Chiefs of Staff waited for his report. They're not here as friends, he said simply. They see us as primitives sitting on valuable land. They've already divided up the planet for mining operations. Admiral Susan Miller, head of the United Earth Defense Force, stepped forward. Then we fight. We've faced impossible odds before. The president shook her head. We need to see what we're up against first. Susan put together a small force to monitor their first mining operation. Do not engage unless attacked. 1 week later, alien mining ships descended on the Pacific Ocean. They positioned themselves over a marine sanctuary protected by international law, home to several endangered species and delicate coral reefs. Admiral Miller commanded a small fleet of naval vessels that formed a protective line. She stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching as enormous tubes dropped from the alien ships into the water. "This is Admiral Susan Miller of the United Earth Defense Force," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You are entering protected waters. Please stop all operations until we can reach an agreement." The alien ships continued their work, ignoring the transmission. Dark water began to flow up the tubes into their vessels. "Final warning," Susan broadcast. "Stop your operations immediately." When there was no response, she gave the order. "Warning shots only. Fire across their bows." The human ships fired missiles that exploded in the water near the alien vessels. For a moment it seemed to work. The mining stopped. Then, without warning, beams of blue light shot from the alien ships. They didn't target the human vessels, but instead struck the water around them. The ocean itself began to boil and churn. "What are they doing?" Susan's second-in-command asked. Before she could answer, massive waves formed, tossing the human ships like toys. Communications failed. Navigation systems went dark. Engines stopped working. From space, the Galactic Council ships watched as Earth's pitiful defense force drifted helplessly. They hadn't even needed to destroy the human vessels. A simple disruption field had been enough to neutralize their primitive technology. High Chancellor Zick sent a message to all Earth governments. "Your resistance is noted. Consider this a demonstration of our technological superiority. Further interference will result in Earth's reclassification as a Class 1 world, scheduled for complete resource extraction and species relocation to labor colonies." As Susan Miller's damaged fleet limped back to port, the reality became clear. Earth was not being welcomed to a galactic community. It was being invaded, and humans had no way to stop it. President Carter addressed a frightened world that night. "We face a challenge unlike any in human history. But remember this. Through all our existence, humans have adapted and survived. We will find a way through this darkness too." What she didn't say was that she had no idea what that way might be. 6 months passed since the alien ships first appeared in Earth's skies. Mining operations now covered every continent. Massive machines dug deep into the ground, taking metals humans had never even known existed. In the oceans, alien devices sucked up water and filtered out rare materials. Forests were carefully cut down, with certain plants taken while others were left behind. Life changed for everyone on Earth. The aliens set up bases in major cities. They built tall towers where their ships could land and take off. Human governments still existed, but they had little real power. They simply passed along the aliens' orders to their citizens. Most people tried to live normal lives. They went to work, if their job still existed. They tried to feed their families, though food was becoming harder to find. They kept their heads down and avoided the aliens as much as possible, but not everyone accepted defeat. In a small lab hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Karen Chen worked by the light of a single lamp. The power grid was unreliable these days. The aliens took most of the electricity for their mining operations. Karen didn't mind. She preferred working alone in the quiet darkness. On her desk sat a small piece of alien technology, part of a communication device recovered from a crashed scout ship. For weeks she had been studying it, trying to understand how it worked. "There's something unusual about the way it processes energy," she muttered to herself, making notes in a worn notebook. She never used computers for her most important work anymore. The aliens could monitor all electronic communications. Karen had been a quantum physicist before the invasion, specializing in wave function theories. Now she was part of a secret group of scientists working to understand alien technology. She adjusted a measuring device of her own design and watched as patterns formed on a small screen. "That's it," she whispered. "They're using subspace frequencies, communication channels that exist partly outside normal space-time." Her hands trembled with excitement. This could be important. Even more interesting was how these frequencies interacted with certain Earth elements. Some rare minerals found only in deep ocean trenches seemed to disrupt the alien signals. If they could find enough of this material. Miles away in what used to be Seattle, Jack Nelson moved silently through the ruins of an abandoned building. Before the invasion, he had been a Navy SEAL, one of America's elite soldiers. Now he led a small resistance cell. Jack wore dark clothes that helped him blend into the shadows. Around his neck hung a special mask that hid his body heat from alien sensors. His group had discovered that the aliens saw mainly through heat, patterns rather than visible light. Behind him followed 4 other people, all that remained of his original team. They moved carefully toward an alien outpost where supplies were stored. "Remember," Jack whispered to the others, "take only what's on the list. Priority is the communication components and power cells. Second priority is food. Nothing else." They waited as an alien patrol passed by. The aliens never expected resistance anymore. 6 months of successful occupation had made them confident, overconfident. When the patrol disappeared around a corner, Jack gave a hand signal. The team moved quickly, using tools they had made themselves to open the storage building. Inside, they found stacks of alien technology and food supplies. 10 minutes, Jack said, checking his watch. Then we're out. The team worked quickly, taking small pieces of technology that wouldn't be missed right away. Jack examined a strange device that looked like a weapon. He carefully put it in his bag. The scientists would want to study it. They were nearly finished when they heard a sound outside. Jack signaled for everyone to freeze. Through a small window, he saw an alien walking toward the building. It was alone, probably coming to get something. From storage, Jack held his breath. The alien paused, seeming to sense something wrong. Its large eyes scanned the area. Then, surprisingly, it turned and walked away, as if deciding it didn't need whatever it had come for after all. Only when the alien was completely gone did Jack allow himself to breathe again. "That was too close," he whispered. "Let's move." The ball. Team slipped out of the building and back into the shadows of the ruined city. By morning, they would be miles away, hidden in the network of tunnels they had created beneath the city. Similar scenes played out across the planet. Small groups of humans resisted in different ways. Some gathered information, some stole supplies, some helped people escape from labor camps. They rarely communicated with each other directly, it was too dangerous. But they all shared information through an old-fashioned method. Coded messages hidden in ordinary conversations, passed from person to person. On the alien command ship, orbiting Earth, High Chancellor Zix reviewed the latest reports. Resources were being collected according to schedule. Human resistance was minimal and ineffective. Another group tried to interfere with the mining operation in what they call Australia, reported an officer. "We captured 3 of them." Zix waved a long, blue-tinged hand dismissively. "Study them, then process them for labor assignment." Science officer named Vril 7 approached with a data pad. "Chancellor, I've been examining the human prisoners. There's something unusual about their brain patterns." "Unusual how?" Zix asked without much interest. "When we put pressure on them, through fear, pain, or deprivation, their mental activities don't decrease as we would expect. Instead, some areas of their brains become more active. It's as if stress improves their thinking." Zix laughed. "Are you suggesting these primitives become smarter when threatened? That's ridiculous." "Not exactly smarter," Vril 7 said carefully, "but more adaptive, more creative in their responses. It's unlike any species we've encountered before." "Does it matter?" Zix asked. "Their technology is still thousands of years behind ours. They have no weapons that can harm us. Their resistance is pointless." "Of course, Chancellor, just an interesting scientific observation." As Vril 7 walked away, he made a note to continue his studies quietly. Something about these humans bothered him. Other species the Council had conquered typically followed predictable patterns of behavior when defeated. But humans were different. They didn't act like a species that accepted its place in the galactic order. Back on Earth, Karen Chen finally completed her analysis of the alien communication device. She carefully packaged her notes in the small piece of technology. Tonight, a courier would take them to another lab, where other scientists would build on her work. As she prepared to sleep on the small cot in her lab, Karen smiled to herself. The aliens thought they had won. They believed humans were broken and defeated. They had no idea what was coming. In the darkness of occupation, humanity's greatest strength was growing stronger. Our ability to adapt, to think creatively under pressure, and to work together against impossible odds. The aliens had made a fatal mistake. They had given humans something to unite against. 1 year had passed since the aliens came to Earth. Winter snow covered the Rocky Mountains, hiding the small entrances to what had become humanity's most important research facility. Deep underground, Dr. Laura Wilson looked at the device on the table in front of her. It wasn't much to look at, just a small metal box with a few blinking lights. "Will it work?" asked Ryan Patel, the young computer genius who had designed the control systems. Laura adjusted her glasses. "In theory, yes." Karen's research was solid. This device should disrupt the subspace frequencies the aliens use for everything: communications, weapons, even their ship engines. "But we only have one," Ryan pointed out, "and it only works within a half-mile radius." Laura nodded. "That's why we're not going to use this one. We're going to make thousands of them." She rolled out a map of North America. Similar maps hung on walls across the room showing other continents. Red dots marked major alien installations around the world. "We've located abandoned factories that the aliens don't monitor closely. With the right people and materials, we can start production within weeks." Ryan looked doubtful. "The aliens control all power grids, all transportation. How will we coordinate something this big without them noticing?" Laura smiled. "That's where you come in. Your quantum encryption system is the key." Ryan had developed a communication method that the aliens couldn't detect. It used quantum entanglement, pairs of particles that stayed connected even when separated by great distances. Change one particle, and its partner changed instantly, no matter how far apart they were. It wasn't fast enough for conversation, but it could send coded messages that were impossible to intercept. "Operation Phoenix needs to be perfectly coordinated," Laura continued. "Everyone needs to know exactly when to act, down to the second." Over the next several months, resistance cells across the planet received strange deliveries. Parts and materials appeared in dead drops, hidden locations where items could be exchanged secretly. Instructions came with them, explaining how to build devices called frequency disruptors. Former factory workers, engineers, and even teenagers with technical skills worked in basements, caves, and abandoned buildings. They built the disruptors, using the materials provided, never knowing the full plan or who was in charge. Meanwhile, in the oceans, Admiral Susan Miller had established a new kind of navy. After the aliens destroyed most of Earth's military ships, Susan had moved her operations underwater. She converted old submarines and underwater research stations into bases. The water provided some protection from alien sensors, especially in the deepest parts of the ocean. In the Mariana Trench, inside a modified research station 7 miles below the surface, Susan met with commanders from countries that had once been enemies. "The Chinese submarines will place disruptor nodes here, here, and here," she said, pointing to locations on a map. "The Russian teams will cover these areas, and our forces will handle these." A Russian commander named Petrov nodded. "My people are ready. But we still don't know if these devices will actually work." "They'll work," Susan said with more confidence than she felt. "Once they're activated, we'll have a small window to strike. The aliens won't expect an attack after a year of what they see as our surrender." Above the ocean, far from these secret meetings, Ambassador Greg Hayes continued his work. The aliens still used him as their main contact with human governments. Every week he attended meetings with High Chancellor Zix and other alien leaders. Each time, he appeared more defeated, more willing to accept whatever demands they made. "The Northern Hemisphere mining quotas will be increased by 30%, Zix announced during one meeting. "Your governments will provide more workers." Greg lowered his head. "Yes, Chancellor. I'll inform them immediately." His voice sounded broken, like a man who had given up. Zix seemed pleased by Greg's submission. The alien leader didn't notice how Greg's eyes carefully observed everything in the room: the number of guards, the layout of the command center, the patterns of shift changes. After each meeting, Greg would return to his small office in what remained of the United Nations building. There, he would write detailed notes about everything he had seen. These notes were collected by a cleaning woman who passed them to a street vendor who gave them to a taxi driver. And eventually, they reached Admiral Miller's intelligence team. Greg Hayes was playing the most dangerous role of all, pretending to cooperate while gathering critical information about alien operations. The alien occupiers grew more confident with each passing month. Reports from their scientific teams showed that Earth's resources were even more valuable than initially thought. Some of the biological compounds found in deep ocean organisms could revolutionize medicine throughout the Galactic Council's territory. Vril 7, the science officer who had noticed unusual patterns in human brain activity, continued his studies, quietly. He had collected enough data to confirm his suspicions. Humans actually became more mentally effective under pressure. Their problem-solving abilities increased when facing threats. It was exactly the opposite of most species the Council had encountered. He prepared a report for High Chancellor Zix, suggesting increased security measures. But before he could deliver it, he received new orders. His research team was being reassigned to study the ocean biological samples. Security concerns were dismissed as unnecessary. The humans had clearly accepted their defeat. On the day the aliens had scheduled for a ceremony to mark 1 year of successful occupation, Ambassador Hayes stood before High Chancellor Zix in the Grand Hall of the Alien Command Center. Representatives from all 7 Council species watched as Hayes prepared to formally acknowledge Earth's permanent status as a resource world. Hayes stepped up to the podium, head bowed. He looked tired and defeated as he began to speak. Chancellor, distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, 1 year ago you came to Earth and showed us our place in the galaxy. He paused, looking up slowly. Today I am here to tell you something important about humanity. The Chancellor leaned forward expectantly. Hayes looked at his watch. We do not accept defeat. We adapt, we plan, and we fight back. Before the aliens could react, Hayes smiled. Operation Phoenix activates in exactly 3 minutes. I suggest you prepare yourselves. Across the planet, resistance fighters checked their watches and readied their equipment. In hidden bases, special forces teams prepared for battle. And, deep in the Mariana Trench, Admiral Miller gave the final order. Send the signal. All teams activate on my mark. The countdown to humanity's counterattack had begun. At exactly 0300 UTC, 1 year and 1 day after the alien invasion began, Operation Phoenix activated. Across the planet, thousands of humans pressed buttons on small devices they had built in secret. The frequency disruptors powered up simultaneously, creating an invisible wave that spread across Earth. In the Alien Command Center, High Chancellor Zix stared at Ambassador Hayes in confusion. Then the lights flickered. Alarm sounds began to blare. The alien guards reached for their weapons, but nothing happened when they pressed the triggers. Their communicators went silent. The screens showing their global operations went dark. What have you done? Zix demanded, his blue skin turning pale. Hayes smiled. We've leveled the playing field. Outside the command center, confusion spread among the alien forces. Their ships lost power while hovering, forcing emergency landings. Their advanced weapons stopped working. The mining machines grinding away at Earth's resources gradually slowed to a stop. For the first time since their arrival, the aliens felt fear. The second phase of Operation Phoenix began immediately. From hidden bases around the world, human strike teams emerged. They wore simple armor made from a combination of Earth materials and modified alien technology. They carried weapons that looked primitive, but had been carefully designed to work without the advanced technology the aliens relied on. Commander Nicole Barnes led the primary attack on the New York Command Center. She had once been an Olympic athlete before becoming a Special Forces officer. Now she moved silently through the darkened alien facility, leading 20 of Earth's best fighters. Remember your training, she told her team over a simple radio system that used old frequencies the aliens had never bothered to monitor. They're stronger than us physically, but they've forgotten how to fight without their technology. Use that against them. Nicole's team split into smaller groups, each with specific targets. Some headed for the power systems, others for the communication hubs. Nicole led her group toward the central command room where Hayes had been meeting with the alien leaders. When they encountered alien guards, the fight was surprisingly quick. The aliens had relied on their weapons and armor for so long that they had poor hand-to-hand combat skills. The human fighters, trained for months for this moment, overwhelmed them with coordinated attacks. Nicole reached the command center doors and placed small explosives at the hinges. "Fire in the hole," she warned over the radio. The explosion was controlled and precise, blowing the door inward. Inside, Hayes had overturned a table for cover. The alien leaders were shouting orders that no one could follow. When Nicole's team burst in, many of the aliens surrendered immediately, raising their four-fingered hands in the air. They had learned this human gesture of surrender from studying Earth cultures. High Chancellor Zix did not surrender. He charged at Nicole, his large frame moving with surprising speed. Nicole sidestepped his attack and used his momentum against him, a basic judo move she had learned as a child. The alien leader crashed into a wall, stunned by the simple but effective technique. "Secure the room," Nicole ordered. Her team moved quickly, binding the alien leaders with simple plastic restraints. "Ambassador Hayes, are you all right?" Hayes emerged from behind the table. "Never better, Commander." He looked at the captured alien leaders with satisfaction. "Let's deliver our message." Similar scenes played out in alien facilities worldwide. Human strike teams, coordinated through Ryan Patel's quantum communication network, neutralized key alien command positions within the first hour of Operation Phoenix. In orbit around Earth, the remaining alien ships found themselves unable to communicate with their ground forces. Their weapon systems failed, and their engines operated at minimum capacity. As the ship commanders debated what to do, new contacts appeared on their sensors. From behind the moon emerged a small fleet of human spacecraft. These vessels had been built in secret lunar facilities established before the invasion. For a year, engineers had worked to combine reverse-engineered alien technology with human ingenuity, creating ships that didn't rely on the same vulnerable systems as the alien vessels. Captain Eric Martinez commanded the lead ship named Defiance. It wasn't as large or as elegant as the alien vessels, but it was fully operational while the alien ships drifted helplessly. "This is Captain Martinez of Earth Defense Force," he broadcast to the alien fleet. "Your ground forces have been neutralized. Your technology has been compromised. You have one option: leave our solar system or be destroyed." To demonstrate that this wasn't an empty threat, Martinez gave the order to fire on an unmanned alien supply ship. The Defiance's weapons, a combination of conventional missiles and adapted alien energy technology, tore through the alien vessel, reducing it to floating debris. The alien fleet, unable to fight back effectively and cut off from their command structure, began to retreat. Some ships tried to send landing parties to retake their ground facilities, but these attempts failed against the now prepared human defenders. Within 48 hours, the skies above Earth were clear of alien ships for the first time in a year. On the ground, the few remaining alien forces found themselves surrounded and outnumbered. Some fought to the end, but most surrendered when they realized their position was hopeless. In what had been the aliens' main command center, Hayes sat, across from a defeated High Chancellor Zix. Between them on the table lay a communication device, one of the few alien technologies the humans had allowed to remain functional. "You will send a message to the Galactic Council," Hayes said. "The terms are simple. Earth claims all space within 50 light-years as our territory. Any attempt to enter this space or to retaliate against us will trigger the Omega Protocol." Zix's large eyes blinked rapidly. "What is this Omega Protocol?" Hayes smiled but didn't answer. Instead, he slid the communication device closer to the alien leader. "Send the message." What Zix didn't know, what none of the aliens knew, was that there was no Omega Protocol. It was a bluff, a psychological tactic based on the aliens' own fear after witnessing how quickly humans had reversed their seemingly hopeless situation. After Zix sent the message, he looked at Hayes with new understanding. "You were planning this from the beginning." Even during those meetings when you seemed broken, we needed time, Hayes said simply. You gave it to us by underestimating us. As news of victory spread across Earth, celebrations broke out everywhere. People emerged from their homes hugging strangers in the street. For the first time in a year, they could look up at the sky without fear. But the leaders of Operation Phoenix didn't join the celebrations yet. They gathered in a secure facility to plan their next steps. Earth was free, but the galaxy was full of potential threats. They had bought time with their victory and their bluff, but now they needed to prepare for whatever might come next. Humanity had survived its first contact with alien life. Against all odds, Earth had won its freedom. But the real challenge was just beginning. 3 years passed since Earth freed itself from alien occupation. The planet had changed in ways few could have imagined before the invasion. Old national borders still existed, but they mattered less now. Humans had united against a common enemy, and that unity remained even in peace. The technology recovered from the aliens accelerated human development by centuries. Scientists like Karen Chen and Laura Wilson led teams that combined alien science with human creativity, creating new systems that even the Galactic Council had never imagined. Earthships now explored nearby star systems, establishing colonies on planets that the aliens had considered worthless. These worlds weren't rich in the specific resources the Council valued, but they were perfect for human settlement. Ambassador Greg Hayes prepared to address the Galactic Council for the first time since Earth's liberation. The Council had eventually responded to the message sent by Zix, requesting a formal meeting. After careful consideration, Earth's united government had agreed. The meeting would take place on a neutral space station at the edge of what humans now called Earth space. As Hayes boarded the ship that would take him there, Captain Martinez saluted him. Good luck, Ambassador. Remember, the Defiance and 3 other ships will be nearby if anything goes wrong. Hayes nodded. I don't think we'll need them, but I appreciate the backup. 2 days later, Hayes stood before the full Galactic Council. Representatives of all 7 alien species sat in a large chamber, designed to accommodate their different biological needs. Their expressions were impossible for humans to read, but their body language suggested tension and uncertainty. Distinguished members of the Council, Hayes began. 3 years ago you came to Earth believing us to be primitive beings sitting on valuable resources. Today, I stand before you as the representative of a spacefaring civilization that has mastered technologies you thought would take us centuries to understand. He paused, letting them absorb his words. The Council members shifted uncomfortably. Earth, ships now patrol our borders. Our colonies are thriving, and yes, the Omega Protocol remains ready should any aggression be directed toward us. A new Council leader, who had replaced Zix after the defeat at Earth, spoke up. We acknowledge Earth's unexpected development. We seek to understand your intentions. Do you plan to expand your territory further? To take revenge for our previous actions? Hayes smiled. That's the interesting thing about humans. Many would expect us to seek revenge, but we've discovered something more valuable than vengeance, opportunity. He activated a holographic display showing a document titled The Terran Accords. Earth proposes a new framework for galactic relations, not based on strength or technological superiority, but on mutual respect and recognition of rights for all sentient beings. Hayes explained the basic principles: no invasion of inhabited worlds, fair trade practices, shared scientific advancement, and protection for developing civilizations. As he spoke, several Council members leaned forward with interest. But why would you offer this after what we did to your world? Asked one of the smaller aliens near the back. Dr. Laura Wilson, who had accompanied Hayes as Earth's scientific representative, stepped forward. Because that's what makes humans different, she explained. When we're pushed to our limits, we don't just fight back. We transform. We become something new. She activated her own display, showing brain scans of various species under stress. Most intelligent species experience cognitive decline under pressure. Humans experience cognitive enhancement. Stress makes us more creative, more adaptable, and, she paused, more likely to seek unusual solutions, like offering partnership to former enemies. By the end of the meeting, 3 council species had signed the Terran Accords. Others hesitated, but within months they too would join as human influence grew throughout the galaxy. As Earthships returned home, Hayes stood on the bridge with Martinez, watching the blue planet grow larger in the view screen. They asked me what the Omega Protocol was, Hayes said with a smile. And what did you tell them? Martinez asked. The truth. That there wasn't one. Just a bluff that worked because they couldn't imagine how quickly we could adapt. Earth had not just survived its first contact with alien life, it had transformed the galaxy, proving that humanity's greatest weapon was never technology or strength, but our unique ability to turn adversity into opportunity. The end.